Hey guys, welcome to Picksburgh. This is Anthony, and this is another commute with cards. Actually, on my way to work, and just got here a little bit early, to be honest with you. And I just have been thinking of a conversation I had just this past weekend at the Mall of Robinson. I was talking with a buddy of mine there, and I had a case full of slabs, and he was like, "You mind if I take a look?" And he goes, "You got any vintage stuff in there, or is it just modern?" I said, "It's mainly modern stuff." He goes, never mind. Regardless of if it was straight fire or not, he wasn't really interested. He mainly was looking into the more vintage realm. And as I was thinking about it, I said, you know what, man, I really don't blame you for sticking really into the vintage world a little more, or the not so ultra modern world. Now, he was mainly in the 1990s and beyond, but he was very heavy in the 70s era, 60s era, when he was a young kid, so all that era up to basically the 90s. Was basically his booth and his expertise. And I was like, man, you know what, you're reasonably smart doing that, because if you know the cards to target, you can get cards from the 90s, from the 80s, sometimes even earlier than that, like dirt cheap, because people just don't know what they have, and they just have like shoe boxes full of them, binders full of them, or whatnot, and you can literally pick them up for pennies on the dollar. And if you can sort through there and the key cards to look for, then you're sitting pretty. Or even if you have an eBay business, I think of a guy like Bo over at Million Cubs. Michael and I have had him on our podcast, Collecting Profit. Shameless plug, if you guys haven't checked that out, it's every Wednesday evening. Shoots back and forth between my channel and Michael's channel. But if you haven't seen the show with Bo, check it out. But one thing Bo does is he'll take just like runs of say 1980s tops, and he'll just buzz them through his Card Dealer Pro. He's one of them scanners, and he'll just put thousands of those cards up, even commons. And there are set collectors that'll go through there and they'll actually buy those cards. He puts them up there at like $1.50 free ship. That's something that if you have the time, or you have like some kind of software like Card Dealer Pro that makes it tangible to list like the lower dollar commons and stuff like that, that's another way to kind of be profitable with like the older stuff. But if like the key cards to get, he's basically telling me that, and this makes a ton of sense, because with ultra modern, you're basically trying to get tens if you want to get good multiplier on your investment from a raw card. I think of newer guys, like a young new guy that I see just slanging and banging in the hobby is Justin Gamble. Now, he does primarily ultra modern stuff. That's his expertise. He's in it quick and he's out of it quick, and that makes a lot of sense to me too, because right now what I'm doing is anything ultra modern, if it's not a PC card, and I'm really limiting what ultra modern really makes my PC, if I'm being honest with you guys, because from the time that card comes out, it's a depreciating asset. You know what I mean? It's getting to the point now where they're pricing the cards to where these guys are like Hall of Famers. Like, I look at Victor Wembanyama, hit Sports Illustrated for Kid rookie card is far more than what even LeBron James's is. And LeBron is already arguably top 1 or 2 best player of all time. There's very small likelihood that even if Victor has a Hall of Fame career, he's going to eclipse what LeBron James has done. So with that being said, why do we feel like as card collectors that this card, which is probably even more mass produced than the LeBron James Sports Illustrated for Kid rookie card, why do we feel like this card is actually going to hold value at what it is? Like I said, even if he does somehow become as good as LeBron James, look at where LeBron's card is currently. And Victor's Wembanyama's card is currently worth more than that. So the ultra modern market is very fickle, guys. Like, I have the benefit of being a collector from when I was a kid. Now, there are a few years I took off, you know, in the high school, college years, somewhere in between there, that I wasn't as hot and heavy after cards because, you know, life, girls, sports, other aspirations in life took precedence. But I remember back in the day collecting guys, Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, David Robinson, you know, all of these guys, like throw Mark Price in there from my Cleveland Cavaliers. You know, these rookie cards that actually had some value when I was a kid. I think of Fred Taylor. His card was decently valuable when I was a kid. He came out the same year as Randy Moss. You know what I mean? Like different guys like that whose rookies I was chasing after that now you can find in a bargain dollar box all day, every day. You know what I mean? So when you think of it that way, guys, like if I think of right now, all the money I've probably lost on Isaac Okoro, it's sickening to me. You know what I mean? Whereas I could have just taken that money and invested that into something that was more safe. Like for example, vintage, you're not going to see the big jumps like you do in ultra modern. Like ultra modern, that's where you're going to find all of these big jumps when people are doing well and all of that. So that's not the game for that. But here's where you really profit from vintage. Not only the grading, like I had mentioned, being able to get, you know, like a 5 or more on a vintage card, but the other area where you really grade is being able to get in it cheap. Because most of the time, like I said, you can get into full collections, you know, and stuff like that on the cheap, you know, and maybe the guy says, okay, I have this Joe Montana rookie card. It's worth like $400. You know, maybe you say, okay, I'll give you $500 for everything. And then you end up finding, you know, several other good cards. And then on top of that, you grade the cards. That's where you're going to make the money with the vintage cards, is by getting in cheap and then being able to then determine what are the cards that are, you know, worth grading, getting them graded right away. What are the cards that are more valuable, getting them listed right away. And then if you have the time and or use a Card Dealer Pro or some other software like that, then you might want to even take the opportunity to start listing the commons, because most of those AI softwares, the older cards, they're going to do really well with, and they're going to recognize most of them, and it's going to be smooth sailing. Now, the downside is a lot of these older cards, especially the commons, long tail items that are just going to sit in your store and clog up listings. So be prepared for that. But guys, leave me down in the comments, what's your take on ultra modern versus vintage? There's tons of money to be made on both sides. I do see how you can make more money with less of investment working with more vintage cards. So guys, again, leave me some comments down below. I'd love to know how you feel about this. Until the next video, may God bless you. Take it easy.